You are now listening to the fastest growing faith-based podcast that empowers, inspires, and motivates your walk with Christ. Ladies, don't you know you are fearfully and wonderfully made? You are far more precious than rubies. You are destiny shakers. Fellas, you are strong, visionaries, and mighty kingdom builders. Together, we are Virtue with Vision, the podcast. We discuss relationships, goals, life, and a whole lot of Jesus. Always remember, you deserve God's best because you are God's best. Let's tune into this week's episode. Welcome to Virtue with Vision, the podcast. I'm your host, Mary Lee Vance, here to remind you that you deserve God's best because you are God's best. Hey guys, I'm so excited as we continue this Jesus in Therapy month. It has been so good. So far, everything has been so amazing, and it's so awesome when you're actually obedient to what the word of God says, or when God speaks to you and you're like, okay, God, I'm going to do it. And then he just continues to reveal people to you. He reveals new relationships, new people you get to know. And you guys know I love strangers. Strangers are my best friends, okay? So I am so excited for the guests that we have on tonight. But before we hop into that, man, you guys have been going so crazy with my testimonials that I am getting with Pods and Excellence. If you are thinking about starting a podcast and you're wanting to be a go-to expert, you want people to be like, hey, I need to be behind the mic. I have some things I want to say, and I need my podcast to look professional. Well, I definitely suggest that you go to www.podsandexcellence.com to get started today. And here is the sponsored content.
Have an idea for a podcast but haven't put it into action? Are you new to podcasting and are overwhelmed with all the information out there? Pods and Excellence is your one-stop shop for all of your podcasting needs. If you're just in the idea stage or struggling to decide what equipment to use to get started, Pods and Excellence is for you. Pods and Excellence is designed to help podcasters cultivate their podcast production, help secure high-profile guests on their show, and how to get in front of the right audience so you can grow exponentially. You need Pods and Excellence if you are struggling with growing your audience, having a hard time monetizing, running out of things to talk about, and just flat out lost with how podcasting works. Then Pods and Excellence is for you. Join Pods and Excellence today and take your podcast to the next level. Go to maryleevance.com to get started today.
Welcome back to Virtue with Vision, the podcast. I'm your host, Mary Lee Vance, here to remind you that you deserve God's best because you are God's best. Hey guys, so I have Alicia Brown with me this evening, and she is a wellness practitioner. If you can, say hi to everyone.
Hi. Hello.
And I just want to say thank you so much for being a part of Virtue with Vision. If you can, let us know who you are. I know I said that you are a wellness practitioner, but go into it deeper about what you do and who you are.
Thank you so much, first and foremost, for having me.
Absolutely.
This right here, Jesus in Therapy. My God, that right there, you can speak about that all day, all night, 24/7. It's just something about that, how Jesus is our therapy. So, as she stated, my name is Alicia Brown. I am a natural wellness practitioner. What I do is I empower others and educate them on how to live a healthy, balanced life. I do this through several of my programs, one being Metamorphosis, because one thing about living a healthy life, it contains a balance. It has to be a balanced life. Balanced in what? I'm glad that you asked. You must be balanced in your body, mind, and spirit. Once you have that fair balance, everything else will balance. It goes to one of the things I like to say is when you shift, everything else around you shifts. So if you have a balance, everything else around you has no choice but to become balanced.
That's good. I really like what you said, a whole lot in a whole little time. So I want to talk about what you do exactly. So let's talk about wellness. A lot of times, and before we hop in, a lot of people are probably like, what does wellness have to do with therapy? What does that have to do? I decided to bring in someone in the wellness category because it is so important to understand our bodies and the different changes it goes through. I would say in 2020, for example, I was going through depression and anxiety to the highest extent. I was outside of myself. And it wasn't until I was able to go to therapy and go see my actual primary care doctor, where they were like, you got vitamin D and low B12, and you need to get the B vitamin and get your life together. So it wasn't until I actually went to the doctor I was able to find out these things through actually my therapist. So my therapist was like, I could be saying something so out of love, and you might take it as it's being someone's trying to hurt you, and you think that I'm trying to hurt you because of your mental state with the deficiency of vitamin D. And it made zero sense to me now, but now that I'm on the other side of it, it made a whole lot of sense. I was taking it personal, okay? I was taking it real personal. So I want to know, Alicia, what exactly a wellness practitioner is and what that means for the body of Christ.
So, what a wellness practitioner is we sit down with the individual, we sit down with the client, and we kind of see where they are. That's the first thing. So, a lot of people that come, a lot of the clients that I have, they come because they've already been diagnosed, they've been taking the medications. However, it's increased or some another diagnosis done come across, or it's added other issues to them that they didn't have before, and they've gotten to a place where it's like, okay, it's either I'm going to be healed or I'm not going to be healed at all. Almost like the woman with the issue of blood, right?
Yeah, yeah.
She was like, listen, I'm spending all my money on all these doctors, and
Sound like me.
I still got this issue.
Mm.
So,
Still hasn't been solved. What is the
right.
problem?
What's going on? Like, y'all doctors, y'all
Mhm.
supposed to know the answers, and apparently y'all don't, because I'm going from one doctor to the another. So most cases, when a person gets tired and does not have a full resolution and realizes I'm not getting any better, other issues are being added. I have these side effects from these medications, or these medications don't allow me to function and enjoy life. So I need to go see about this naturally, because if we go back to how does it apply to a believer's life, let's go back to Genesis. When he created the earth, he created everything in the earth before he even thought about creating us.
Yeah.
And when he created us, he said, I have given and provided everything that you need within the earth, within the trees, within the herbs. These animals that's walking around, yeah, you can eat those too. I've
Chicken good.
provided.
I believe in chicken. I'm sorry. That's so African American and black.
Look, there's nothing
Listen, I
wrong
was
with
like,
it.
chicken, where's that? I
Look,
will eat
yeah.
that. Sorry. Comical relief, guys.
Listen, it is nothing wrong with it at all. So, with that, it is a matter of people do not realize food is medicine. Food is medicine. And the same way they have different medications prescribed for specific things, food is prescribed for certain things as well. So if you find you have deficiencies, you can eat certain types of foods to build up that deficiency. For instance, someone that has low iron or someone that is goes through constipation or IBS, they need to eat things that have fiber, like a lot of dark green vegetables like kale, spinach, things of that nature. Those are all things that are grown on the earth. So with dealing with a natural wellness practitioner, or shall I say, when being with me, my clients, what I sit down and do is I have them fill out a questionnaire that describes what medications they are taking at this present time, what diagnosis were they diagnosed with, if any, what are some of their symptoms that they are experiencing or feeling. And then I get into the history a little bit. I don't so much, I go into the family history of medical a little bit, but not as much. I go into the history of, okay, now let's take a look at your childhood. Was there any traumas that you've gone through throughout your life? Did you experience anything that was traumatizing? If so, how many times? For females, when you had your children, was it a difficult birth? Was it an easy birth? Did it cause you any stress or any strain? What does your environment look like? What is your surroundings? Do you have a support system? And I get into all of these things because people do not realize that all of these things play a factor in the diagnosis, so to speak, that comes. A lot of these diagnoses and diseases, they stem from issues that have not been dealt with in life. And they stem from, number one is stress.
Yeah.
Number one factor is stress. When stress continues to build up, what happens is it creates its own sickness or disease. So this is why I take the time, like the first consultation, that their first meeting with me is literally between an hour and a half to 2 hours, because I'm digging deep. I
Right.
need to know everything, because in order to come up with and provide suggestions, that's another thing about a practitioner. We only provide suggestions. It's up to you whether you want to do it or not. We're not going to be like, oh, you have to do this, or
Right.
here's what I'm going to
What
tell
to
you to
you
do.
to
No,
do. Mhm.
we leave the choice and the decision up to you. We provide the suggestions, we provide based on what you give us. So it's more of like, help me help you. The more information you provide me, the more it will help me to get you on the right path towards the fullness of your healing, towards the fullness of your deliverance. However, if you're holding back and you didn't share this or you didn't share that, some things that you think are not a big deal, and then when we get to it and you be like, wow, I didn't realize that affected me. I didn't realize that this is one of the things that the Lord shared with me, um, when I was diagnosed with a few diagnoses. My issue was he used it in an analogy way. He used it as a house. He said, you're the house. And he
Mm.
said, the inside of your house is clean, spotless, beautiful. He said, however, let's take a look at your attic. Your attic is in shambles. You have so much stuff in your attic. And when he said that, it was speaking of my mind and my brain. I had so much stored up there that I had not released. I had not let go. It was still on my mind. It was still there. Mind you, majority of my diagnosis stemmed and it started with my brain.
Mm.
So now when my ass,
And
oh,
the Bible does say, as a man thinketh in his
so,
heart, so
uh,
is he.
mhm, it started with my brain.
Mhm.
So he's he began giving me strategies. Let's clean the attic. Let's do a brain dump. Go back to journaling. Journaling is very therapeutic. Writing is very therapeutic. You don't have to become an author just because you're writing. Now, if that's something you desire to do, by all means, listen, I'm an author myself. However, it's very therapeutic. And what it allows you to do is it allows you, if you don't have anyone to talk to, or you don't feel like talking to anyone because you feel like they don't understand, use your pen and begin to talk to your journal and write out. Listen, writing saved my life. It still does to this day. I write out everything, because if we sit there and try to remember everything, then it gives you that buildup.
Right.
It gives you that thing where now I can't remember this. I'm having brain fog. I forgot this. I forgot that, because you have so much compiled. So when new information comes in, there's no room.
Oh, zero room. I mean, I completely agree. Journaling does help. I was doing it off and off, and that seems to be the consistent thing that I've been hearing from guests this month, that journaling is what helped them, or journaling is what got them through, or journaling is what helped them have that conversation with God authentically, however they may be feeling, whatever they may be going through, that may be whatever past trauma or current stress that they may be dealing with. It seems like writing it down is what is helped them be able to conquer the mountain that's in their lives to get over to the next level. So I really like that. I'm going to go to our first commercial. When we come back, I definitely want to continue this conversation about attacking your mind with the things that are in there, because us as women, we like to take on a lot of stuff. So we put them on our arms, our necks, our backs. You're like, just give it to me, we'll do it. And next thing we know, we have everybody's issues in our heads, in our minds, and we have zero room left for us and what we need. So we're going to come back and we're going to talk about, or continue to talk about, the mental aspects behind a thing, or the things that go in our body. You are listening to Virtue with Vision, the podcast with me, Mary Lee Vance.
Have an idea for a podcast but haven't put it into action? Are you new to podcasting and are overwhelmed with all the information out there? Pods and Excellence is your one-stop shop for all of your podcasting needs. If you're just in the idea stage or struggling to decide what equipment to use to get started, Pods and Excellence is for you. Pods and Excellence is designed to help podcasters cultivate their podcast production, help secure high-profile guests on their show, and how to get in front of the right audience so you can grow exponentially. You need Pods and Excellence if you are struggling with growing your audience, having a hard time monetizing, running out of things to talk about, and just flat out lost with how podcasting works. Then Pods and Excellence is for you. Join Pods and Excellence today and take your podcast to the next level. Go to MaryLeeVance.com to get started today.
Tired of dating the wrong one? Do you keep asking God, where is my Boaz? Are you ready to marry the man of your dreams? Fleshly Date or Godly Mate is the book for you. It gives you insight on the difference of dating with or without God in the middle. And it prepares you for God's best. Always remember, you deserve God's best because you are God's best. You can purchase Fleshly Date or Godly Mate at MaryLeeVance.com. Are you a business looking for ways to advertise your brand at an affordable rate? Do you want your brand in front of real people and a real audience? Do you need help with what to say and how to promote your message to the world? Whether you have a clothing brand or you're a makeup artist, a top-tier food brand wanting to attract customers to your tasty food, or any product or service, Virtue with Vision would love to partner with you. Virtue with Vision can help you with your script, setting up your commercial, and an ad spot on Virtue with Vision, the podcast. Let us help you take your brand to the next level. Send all inquiries to info@MaryLeeVance.com. Again, that's info@MaryLeeVance.com to get started at an affordable rate today. Virtue with Vision is the fastest growing faith-based podcast that empowers, inspires, and motivates your walk with Christ. Go subscribe to this podcast and go tell a friend. If you need a relatable podcast to listen to while you're going to work or cruising out on the town, Virtue with Vision, the podcast, is for you. We laugh, have fun, grow, and get a little bit more acquainted with God each time. Virtue with Vision, the podcast, is available on all media platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, and Amazon Music. Subscribe today so you can check out all of my past and upcoming episodes. Go subscribe now. And always remember, you deserve God's best because you are God's best. Welcome back to Virtue with Vision, the podcast. I'm your host, Mary Lee Vance, here to remind you that you deserve God's best because you are God's best. I have Alicia Brown here with me, and she is a wellness practitioner, and we were just discussing the mental aspect of what happens in our bodies. So she said that she was diagnosed with some illnesses in her body, and it was brought to her attention that, hey, maybe it is something going on mentally. There's something mental that is in your head that you need to get out of your head and on the paper. You need to start to write these things out. And honestly, it has been, like I said, a chain reaction of the people that I've had on the show so far this month, where they are saying journaling is a thing and it needs to happen. So if you can, let us know how you were able to get to the root. And I am a little country, so I don't say root, I said the root of the problem. How did you get to the root of the problem or the issue to where you are able to transition into healing?
Honestly, I had to do a self-evaluation. I had to do self-investigation, the same investigations that I do with my clients. I had to literally sit back and take a step back and look at everything. I had to look at, okay, what do you have on your plate currently? What are all the things that you got yourself involved in? In addition, what is your thought process like? How are you thinking? What is your way of thinking? Is it a stinking thinking, or what type of thinking do you have? And then I also had to look at my heart. One of the main things that I did, though, in all of that, I asked myself all of these questions. However, what I did do is I said, Lord, show me me.
That's
Because
good.
although I was able to pinpoint here, there, I couldn't see the things that were hidden in the crevices and in the corners of the cabinets, and I couldn't see those things because they were hidden. It's in spots that we don't think about looking at. Prime example, the attic, right?
Yeah.
So I was just like, Lord, show me me. Show me the same way the woman with the issue of blood, she pressed her way through, and she received not only her healing, but she was made whole. So I know I cannot do this without you. So I need you to help me to become healed. What do I need to do? And I'm willing to do whatever needs to be done. Now, I said that. However, the process I did not like.
Okay. First of all, let's pause there. Who likes a process? And my thing is, I feel like the worldly process is much different than God's process. Because what God does is he's like, okay, you want your freedom. I am so glad I have it for you. It's already yours. However, come on this journey with me. And I'm like,
Right.
nah, I didn't ask for all of that. So God, basically what he does is he takes a part of your entire character, the ways that you used to think, the way that you used to see things, the way that you used to feel about things, how your perspective is, what character flaws you may have, if there's still jealousy, envy, greed, any of those things that are unclean on the inside of you, that you haven't dealt with. Like you said, dealing with the root of the problem, dealing with that on the inside and being able to be like, yeah, all right, God, I understand. And sometimes your process is longer than others. It really is. It's longer if you continue to ignore what God is showing you. It's going to take longer if you continue to do it in your own strength instead of relying on his strength and understanding who he is and that he's sovereign and that he is God and that he won't fail you. It's in those times in the middle of our process where we elongate it because we want to do it in our own strength and we don't want to pick up what Jesus is laying down. Okay. So if you can like continue, this story is good. I'm sitting there like, oh, where the popcorn at?
So you said something very key, trying to do it in your own strength. I wanna touch on that because he showed me that in some situations where I said I forgave, I really didn't forgive. I still had residue. I was still holding on to a little bit of things. In addition to that, so it was like, okay, I got to deal with that aspect. Then, in addition to, he said, you don't deal with stuff. You keep your mouth closed. You don't speak out. You don't really share your emotions. You hold it all bottled up inside. And you walk around, all is well. And when all is not well. And so I had to learn how to open my mouth and deal with stuff and not just say, okay, I'm going to put it on the shelf. I'm going to leave this alone. I'm not even going to touch this. You know what? I'm going to walk away. And a lot of times when we do that, we end up facing it over and over and over again. Why? Because it's something that we have to deal with.
Absolutely.
So even outside of that, although I said, Lord, I'm willing, I wasn't too willing because I was at a point where I could not walk. I had to walk with the cane. And for me, that was a shaking of my faith because I was like, everybody knows that my faith is crazy. To the point where they say, girl, you crazy.
Listen, I got the crazy faith over here too. But
So,
they look at me and be like, you sure you should be out of a job?
right.
I'm not out of one. I quit it. Okay. It's a
Right.
difference. But that's neither here nor there. That's like a whole nother. You done took me there, Alicia. You done took me there. But yes, I definitely agree. It's knowing that the faith that you have, and it's kind of like it convicts you and it messes with you because you're this faithful person. You're this person that walks in faith and you're like, Jesus can do it. I have the faith that he can. You can stand in faith with people. You can pray with people. You can do all of those things. But if you still harbor unforgiveness in your heart where you feel that, oh, I've done all of the forgiving. And to me, you said something very important where you're like speaking up when things are wrong. I used to be the same way where I was like, you know what, we're just going to sweep it under the rug. Yeah, it hurt my feelings. But then I would end up holding grudges against people. Like, nah, I ain't talking to you because what you said to me last time, I didn't like that. So now you must die. Like, that's how it was in my head. Okay. It was not healthy. But once I was able to overcome that and I was able to know that, hey, I need to forgive you. And the things that are happening with me that I didn't like, I need to bring to your attention. Hey, I did not like how you XYZ, or is there a reason? Or being inquisitive about certain things that may be, hurtful towards you. Or you feel like you're being treated different or someone's talking like, if you recognize those things, point them out, because when you are left unsaid, it gives that room for that opportunity for that person to continue to do the same thing, not recognize your presence, not recognize who you are. Now you're uncomfortable to have a conversation, so you guys can clear it up and you guys can walk in Jesus's love like we're designed to do. So I am a huge encourager and a huge advocate in speaking when things hurt, speaking when things don't seem right or don't sit right. And you know when things don't sit right in your spirit. Yes, we're all crazy and we're all weird, but you know for a fact when things do not sit well in your spirit, and you need to be able to find the words to effectively speak and speak in love. Like if you are going to speak in a harsh way or a harsh tone, or you're very like, you need to make sure that you're able to say, you know what you said hurt. And sometimes us as humans, we don't want to seem like that. We look at that as something that's weak, but it's not. You're able to admit something. Hey, what you said hurt me and I don't appreciate it. How can we set up something going forward to where we can live in harmony, live in peace, and this doesn't have to happen again, to where we don't have to have this same conversation. Because rather than saying, you know what, you hurt me and I can't stand you and I hate you and get out of my face, because those are the same things you're saying, but it's just in this different way. There's one way you're saying it in love, that you actually care, that you want to mend. And then the other one is, I'm still hurt and I want you to feel my hurt, and I'm going to treat you just how I felt that you treated me. And that is how you're able to decipher the difference. I'm telling y'all, therapy work, because if y'all need to get in therapy, do it. It's for your mental. I'm trying to tell you, it helps you navigate conversations in the best way possible. But Alicia, you stated that you were still dealing and harboring unforgiveness. It was to a point where you were crippled and were walking with a cane. So how were you able to overcome this, and how was God able to heal you?
So in that, what I did, once he showed me that was the first thing he showed me. And in overcoming, he had to show me everything. He literally showed me. And so as I stated, I forgive such and such. I forgive so and so. It wasn't just me saying it. I then thereafter had to act on it. I couldn't just speak it. My actions had to support what I was speaking.
Yeah.
So in that, I did go through that process with quite a few. And then another thing the Lord showed me was, you cause sickness on yourself.
Ooh.
And he was like,
sometimes his words be piercing. I'll be like,
listen,
let me
listen. I was just like, well, just slap me. I mean, like,
at this point.
However, it was the truth, because he said, what are you eating? What are you feeding yourself? And as I was, because I love milkshakes. I loved sweets, sugars. My favorite Oreo milkshake. Had my husband go get me one, large, all the time, And it was one day he brought it to my attention. I was drinking the milkshake, and out of nowhere, I felt fatigue. I felt dizzy. I had a headache, and I started not feeling well. So then God said to me, he said, what's the last thing you had? I said, that milkshake. And what he showed me was, he said, you want to know why you got so much swelling? Why your hands swelling, feet swelling, body swelling? Look at all that sugar you take in. Sugar is not good. And he continued to show me things according to what I was eating. So I had to change the way I ate. Back to the cane. I didn't want to go to church walking in a cane, because I was like, they gonna look at me like she talking about she got faith, right? Worrying about what people say, right?
I'm trying to win the approval of people.
So he said to me, God said to me, he said, don't even look at the cane as a cane. He said, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort you.
That's so good.
He said, look at it as your rod and your staff. So when he said that and encouraged me, I was walking in there like it was a fashion statement. I was rocking my cane. Couldn't tell me
I
nothing.
would have been like, hey, y'all like you like my limp?
Right.
Like, I'm a little extra, so
No,
I would have
that's
took
the
it in.
truth. And so another thing he showed me was you said that you were willing to go through the process of your healing. And you said yes to what the plan that I had towards your healing. However, you really didn't mean your yes, because he gave me an acronym for yes. He said, when you say yes, you're telling me that you yield so that my spirit can edify you, yield to the edification of my spirit. So you were not yielding. And your other issue was you want my will, but then you want to control my will.
Come on now.
So you still was trying to control everything according to the plan. That's like, okay, being a practitioner, right? I provide you this plan of suggestions. With that, you can take it, you can follow it, or you can do it how you want to do it. So God provides me with a plan. This is what you're supposed to do. This is what I'm suggesting you to do. Because he's like a practitioner himself. He's not going to force you to do it. The
He
choice is
not.
yours. He's either going to do or you're not going to do. So this is what here's my suggestions to you. You're going to follow them or you're not. The choice is yours. So because I still wanted to have some type of control in this thing, I wanted to go back to the doctor because there's other sicknesses and diseases I was diagnosed with that they said I was supposed to have for the rest of my life. Went back to the doctor. It was gone. No trace of it, no sign of it, none of that. So I'm expecting, and that's another thing. You expect God to work the same way. Yes, he's the same God today, yesterday, today, and forevermore. However, the plans are according to what he is trying to get out of you.
Yeah.
So it's not going to always be the same plan. So where you think God is going to move the same exact way, so I'm waiting. I'm ready to go back to the doctor, and that only to go back to the doctor for them to say, listen, if your numbers get any lower, we're going to have to hospitalize you. Only to go back to the doctor for them to tell you, hey, there's nothing else that we can do for you. What? You the doctor? How you going to tell me you don't know what else to do for me? You're supposed to know what to do. You're
Exactly.
supposed to be helping me
I would
fix
be like,
my
for what? So what
issue.
you go to school for? That's what I had asked the last doctor I went to. So what did you go to school for? I'm confused. You're telling me you don't know again?
Right.
I'm gonna
So
need you to find the answer. I was very mean and not in a good place, and I was fed up, boy, fed up, because sometimes you get to that spot, and that spot is I don't want to say a breaking, but it's a crushing spot of you either realizing who he is, are you trusting in him, or what are you putting your trust in? Because
so glad you said that. So
what
glad you said
like
that.
what and who are you putting your trust in? Because if you're putting your trust in doctors, and I'm not saying that doctors don't know, I'm not saying that they're not specialized in certain things, I'm not saying that they're not intelligent, I am not saying that they do not know, because a lot of the times they do know, or a lot of the times it requires additional research. But what I am saying is, if we put all of our trust saying, oh, this doctor said that they were going to yield me XYZ results, so I am going to trust and blah, 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 and it doesn't work out, you're creating that disappointment for yourself, because you are not saying, all right, doctor, you're giving me this medicine, I'm gonna take this medicine, and you know what, but Lord, I'm gonna trust you. I want to be released from any type of medication I need to take for my body. I declare over my body, I need my body to operate the way that you created it to. I need it to do everything that you created and designed it to do. So when it comes to asking for certain things or wanting to produce certain things, or when I go to the doctor, I don't get that report that disappoints me and cripples me. I'm more so rejoicing because I
Mhm.
worship a Father that still saves and that still delivers and that still heals.
So you said a few things that I want to touch on. The first thing that you said was about the breaking and the crushing.
Mm,
So here's the thing. I had to go through this process because the rest of me had to be broken.
yeah.
The rest of me had to be crushed. The rest of my flesh that wanted to hang out, it had to go. So this was the remaining of my flesh, that little bit of control that I still was trying to have. It was being broken off of me. You also made mention about, you know, believing in God and what does it? You are what you speak. You are what you believe. So you have the authority, you have the power to dictate to your atmosphere, dictate to your body. You dictate to your body. Your body doesn't dictate to you. Now, your body may give you signs and, hey, you might want to check this out pertaining me, or you might want to check that out pertaining me. So, yes, you communicate with your body. However, you don't allow your body to cause you to be in a state of shutting down or be in a state of staying in that lame state saying, whoa, whoa, it's me. I'm stuck here. I cannot. Are you really stuck here? Because he's a healer and he sacrificed his only son for our healing. So if it's already been established and it's already been done, only thing we got to do is walk in it.
That part.
That's all we have to do. So for me, my eyes was on the wrong thing. Instead of keeping my eyes stayed on him so that I can remain in that perfect peace, my eye was stayed on the diagnosis. My eye was stayed on the test results. I was focused on the wrong thing. Instead of being focused on God and going through the process with God, I was like Peter that walked on the water. When he took his eye off of God,
That's when he started the
that's
same.
when he felt like, oh, I'm sinking. So
Mhm.
because I was taking my eye off of God and I was so focused on what was going on in my body, it caused me to feel like I was sinking, and it was showing in the results of my tests as the numbers kept decreasing.
Mm.
The minute that I changed my, not just my focus, but changed my mindset, changed my perspective on everything, is when everything began to turn around and change for me. And when I realized, again, it has to be a balance between your mind, body, and spirit. My mind was causing the body and the spirit to be off balance. So I had to get my mind right.
Yeah.
So I started to focus on my mind and saying, okay, what do I, God, renew my mind. I need my mind to be renewed so that I can receive the full transformation. What do I need to do to renew my mind? And then as I was, when I was in school and I was doing the studies, it was one of the things that it was speaking about because our bodies are filled with a lot of chemistry, a lot of electrolytes, a lot of electrons. So with our bodies, one of the things that it was talking about was the negatives and the positives and how the negatives and the positives meet and repel and things of that nature. One of the things that stood out to me was it was saying that when an electron receives negative, the more negativity that it receives, it causes it to become negative. However, when the positive comes along, it switches it and shifts it and causes it to become positive. So that stood out to me because I had to really do a self evaluation investigation of my mind. How is my thinking? Is it negative or is it positive? Am I looking at the negative aspect of this or am I looking at By his stripes, I'm already healed. I'm
That's
walking in
good.
the fullness of my healing. I am a healed. He has so much work for me to do, so I can't stand here. I can't stay here. I am victorious. I am more than a conqueror. And in his strength, I'm going to get through this.
Absolutely.
So I had to literally change my mind and start thinking more positive and eliminate and detox. I had to go through a full detoxification process and detox all of the toxins that were in not just my mind, because it went from my mind and transferred to my body, and it tried to transfer to the spirit. The spirit was still strong. It was holding on. Look, it was holding on to his garment.
Listen to the hem,
It
to
was
the
holding
singlest
on the
thread.
thread.
Listen.
It had the grip. My spirit had the grip of the thread of his garment. Like, listen, body, you could do what you want. Mind, you could do what you want. But I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna stay right here. So with that, once I had that aha, I began to feed positivity. I began speaking affirmations over myself. I began going even deeper in his word, finding things and began to speak those things and made them personal. I applied my name to the scripture. Alicia, you can
Absolutely.
do all things through Christ that strengthens you. Alicia, you are more than a conqueror. Alicia, the Lord is your shepherd, and Alicia shall not want.
Shall not. Okay. That's really good. I think that is such an awesome place to pause. But I want to come back and I want to talk about how people can connect with you, for one, and for two, what wellness practices people can do right now in order to become either closer to God or Jesus, and be able to start their health journey on being a healthier version of themselves. So you are listening to Virtue with Vision, the podcast with me, Mary Lee Vance. Let's talk it. You gotta rock it too. What am I talking about? Virtue with Vision apparel. That's right, my t-shirt line. We not only know we're anointed, but we rock that anointed drip. We read that we should work like Ruth, have discipline like Esther, and pray like Hannah. Why not wear what you believe? Virtue with Vision apparel line believes that we not only read the word, teach the word, and speak the word, but we wear the word too. Go to www.maryleevance.com today and get your drip today. And always remember, you deserve God's best because you are God's best.
Do you have an idea for a podcast but haven't put it into action? Are you new to podcasting and are overwhelmed with all the information out there? Pods and Excellence is your one-stop shop for all of your podcasting needs. If you're just in the idea stage or struggling to decide what equipment to use to get started, Pods and Excellence is for you. Pods and Excellence is designed to help podcasters cultivate their podcast production, help secure high-profile guests on their show, and how to get in front of the right audience so you can grow exponentially. You need Pods and Excellence if you are struggling with growing your audience, having a hard time monetizing, running out of things to talk about, and just flat out lost with how podcasting works. Then Pods and Excellence is for you. Join Pods and Excellence today and take your podcast to the next level. Go to maryleevance.com to get started today.
Virtue with Vision is the fastest growing faith-based podcast that empowers, inspires, and motivates your walk with Christ. Go subscribe to this podcast and go tell a friend. If you need a relatable podcast to listen to while you're going to work or cruising out on the town, Virtue with Vision, the podcast, is for you. We laugh, have fun, grow, and get a little bit more acquainted with God each time. Virtue with Vision, the podcast, is available on all media platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, and Amazon Music. Subscribe today so you can check out all of my past and upcoming episodes. Go subscribe now. And always remember, you deserve God's best because you are God's best. Welcome back to Virtue with Vision, the podcast. I'm your host, Mary Lee Vance, here to remind you that you deserve God's best because you are God's best. Hey guys, so we've had such a ball. Thank you so much, Alicia, for being with us this evening. And I have had such an amazing time just seeing your journey, how, you found the root of your problem and God showed you the steps that you needed to take. He showed you forgiveness that needed to take place. He showed you the transition and renewing of your mind that needs to take place in Him in order for true healing to start in your body. So I want to start and ask, what are some things that people can do to jumpstart their health journey to wellness?
So the first important thing is that forgiveness. If you have any unforgiveness that you are harboring, it is important that you forgive. It's because, as the scripture says, whatever a man thinks in his heart, so is he. As out of the heart flows the issues of life. So if you have unforgiveness that's still in your heart, guess what? That's what's going to come out. And it doesn't have a good scent. It don't smell too good.
It don't.
And it's a toxin. That's very toxic. So that's the first. The second thing I would say is definitely journal. Journal. I can't tell you how many journals I have. I go through journals. I see a new journal, I buy it. Because journaling is key. It allows you to kind of give you that stress reliever. It's like alleviating and eliminating keeping everything stored in your mind or trying to remember. Start writing stuff down. Start writing your emotions, your feelings, because in that balance, it includes your emotions as well. You have to have a balance in your emotions. And there's a few others I would suggest also with your eating. A lot of people don't realize the toxins that they put in their body based on what they're eating. So according to maybe some of the symptoms that you might be feeling or might be having, take a look at your eating habits. What are you eating? What does your eating life look like? Are you doing a lot of fast foods? Are you doing foods that have a lot of sugar? Are you doing processed foods? Processed
That
foods
have a high amount of sodium.
yes. And so many other things, but that's another conversation for another day. So that I would definitely look at as well. And also your entire life, body, mind, body, spirit. Is it balanced? Ask yourself, be honest. Am I balanced in these areas? Am I balanced in my mind? Or is it a little wobbly? What about my body? How am I treating my body? If you take care of your body will take care of you. If you don't take care of it and you're ignoring it, and it's like, hello, I need fiber. And you're like, no, I need sugar.
I need sugar.
Definitely taking care of your body. And these are just snippets that's a start. Exercising, doing yoga, doing a walk around your neighborhood, walk around your block, walking in your house. Dancing is an exercise.
It is a whole exercise, and I love to do it. I do.
That helps to keep your energy, keep your blood cells to keep continuously flowing, your muscles continue to be stretched and moved. And like I said, there's so much more, but those are just some of the ideas and some things that can start you along the path of living a healthy life.
That's really good. And where can we find you? And if you can, let us know what resources you may have available.
So you can find me. I am on Facebook. My name is Alicia Brown on Facebook. I'm also on Instagram as well. In addition to Instagram, you can go on my website, which is empowermemovement.com. You can check me out there. And then I also have a text line as well, and I can provide that number. And that's mainly all the areas where you can find me. Oh, yeah, I forgot about TikTok. I always forget about it.
TikTok, come on, let's be on all of them.
I forgot about TikTok. Yes, I am on TikTok as well. So those are areas that you can find. Now, so far as in resources, I'm actually going to use my husband as a resource because he's a holistic health coach as well. We both together have a foundation called the Color Rose Foundation, Inc., where we both together empower others and educate them on how to live a healthy life. You guys can go to that website as well, which is colorrosefoundation.org. When you go on there, you can subscribe to the newsletter where you guys will receive updates on events, health seminars, or one day health conference that we may have that is upcoming. Even also, we have a magazine coming out as well, a health magazine that is coming out. So you guys have the opportunity to subscribe to that also.
Awesome. Well, you guys know, before we end in prayer. So God, we love you. We thank you so much for who you are. We thank you so much for speaking through us this evening. God, I pray right now that if we are dealing with any illness or illness in our bodies, God, I pray right now that you are able to allow us to locate the root of the problem, that we not only are able to locate the root, but we're able to address the root and spring it out of our system. Allow us to go through your process, the process that you've designed for us to go through in order to get to our desired result, God. It's not that you don't want to give us the desires of our heart, that you just have a process and a journey for us to go through, because you want us to be the most healthiest whole version of ourselves. So God, we just want to say thank you for your protection. Thank you for covering us. Thank you for shielding us from things that we ask for that are not ready for us yet, God. I pray right now for Alicia and her husband, God. I pray that the work that they're doing in the earth, that they're blessed, oh God, that when new business seeks them, oh God, that new opportunities seek them, oh God, that your opportunities that you have opens up for them, oh God. We thank you and we give your name all the honor and the glory and the praise. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Well, that wraps up tonight's episode. You have just listened to Virtue with Vision, the podcast. Go into this week winning in virtue, and always remember, you deserve God's best because you are God's best. Have an awesome week.
Bye.
You have just listened to the fastest growing faith-based podcast that empowers, inspires, and motivates your walk with Christ. That's Virtue with Vision, the podcast. Go into this week winning in virtue. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast on YouTube so you don't miss an episode. Virtue with Vision is available on all major platforms. That's right, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, and Amazon Music. Subscribe so you can check out all of my past episodes. And always remember, you deserve God's best because you are God's best. Have an awesome week.